Okay, so now that we have our final chemical equation, which is right here. Okay, so the numbers above you don't have to worry about anymore. This is the final chemical equation. We have to do the second part of the worksheet, which is to decide if the products are aqueous, which means they're soluble, or solid, which means that they are not soluble in water. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, your favorite reference table is what's going to tell you. So if we go to reference table, table F like Frank, you can see the solubility guidelines for aqueous solutions. And this is all soluble or not soluble in water. So ions that form soluble compounds in water are any group 1 ion. So anything in that first column in the periodic table, that's going to be soluble in water. Ammonium, soluble in water, NH4. Nitrates, NO3 with a negative charge, soluble in water. Acetate, soluble in water. Hydrogen carbonate, soluble in water. And chlorate, soluble in water with basically no exceptions. Halides, which is a compound that's formed with chlorine or bromine or iodine, those are also soluble in water. An example, sodium chloride, NaCl. But if you combine them with silver, lead, or mercury, then they will not be soluble in water. Sulfates are soluble in water unless combined with silver, calcium, strontium, barium, or lead. So unless they're combined with these, they will be soluble. The table on the right here says which ions excuse me, are not soluble compounds. So carbonates are not soluble in water unless they're combined with group 1 or ammonia, group 1 ions or ammonia. Chromates are not soluble unless combined with group 1 ammonia or these ions calcium or magnesium. Phosphates are not soluble in water unless combined with group 1 or ammonium. Sulfates, same, not soluble unless combined with group 1 or ammonium. And hydroxides are not soluble in water unless combined with group 1 ammonium or these ions. Okay, so the right side of the table is not soluble because you see it says insoluble. The left side are the soluble ones. So that's what you're going to use for the second part of this worksheet. So I'll just write it here. The AQ next to a compound, that means soluble in water. If it has in parentheses an S, that means it's a solid. And if it's a solid in water, that means it's not soluble in water. Okay? So we see from up here, we know that lithium sulfide is soluble in water. And so I'll put a little AQ here. Let me make that smaller. Okay. Silver nitrate, soluble in water. Why is that soluble in water? Well, nitrates, if you remember from table F, are soluble in water with nitrates with no exceptions. So silver nitrate is soluble in water. So I put an AQ next to it. What about lithium nitrate? Well, lithium is group 1, so that will be, so this should be, but nitrates also are, so this is a double, definitely soluble in water. Silver sulfide, is that going to be soluble in water? Well, here's sulfides. Okay, so sulfides are insoluble unless combined with group 1 or ammonium. And silver is neither ammonium or group 1, so this is not soluble in water, and I'll put parentheses S next to it, and that means not soluble in water. It's a solid. So when I mix this liquid and this liquid together, I'm going to get a precipitate. It's called a precipitate, or basically a solid come out, form in my liquid. So that's the next step that you need to do on your worksheet. Tell whether it's soluble or insoluble. And lastly, let's see, whoops, get that out of the way. Lastly, I need to balance the reaction. So let's see, I need to balance the reaction. So as you guys remember balancing, you first list all of the elements in the whole equation on the left side. And you know what I do often for a shortcut? NO3 is always NO3. It doesn't ever come apart. So it's NO3 on this side, NO3 on that side. So I'll just write NO3 there. And then underneath each of the compounds, I write how many of that thing there are. So under Li2S, aqueous, I'm going to underline this. Where's the underline? Underline that. Under that thing, I have 2 lithium atoms and 1 sulfur atom, no silver and no nitrates. Under silver nitrate, I have none of those, but I do have 1 silver and 1 NO3. Then here's my divider line where the arrow is, and in this compound, lithium nitrate, LiNO3, okay, under that guy, I have 1 lithium and 1 nitrate. And under the final compound, silver sulfide, let's underline that. I'll have 2 silvers, 2 and 1 sulfur. Okay, the next thing I do is I want to make sure that all of the numbers on the right equal the numbers on the left for each line. So I have 2 lithiums on this side, but 1 on this side. That's no. 2 does not equal 1. So how can I make them equal? Well, I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply this 1. I'm going to multiply it by 2. 1 times 2 equals 2. If I multiply the top one by 2, I have to multiply everything in that column by 2. So everything in this column I have to multiply by 2. So I'm going to do that. All right. Then I go down to the next thing. You might find other tricks that will help you do these things faster. Sulfur, 1, 1. Okay, I'm fine with that. Silver, 2 and 1. So I'm going to do the same thing here on the left as I did on the right. I'm just going to do that. Make my life easier, cut and paste. So I had 1. I'm going to multiply that by, multiply that by 2. And I get 2. And here I also have 1. So I have to, everything in that column I have to multiply by 2. So I'm going to do that. All right. So now what do I have? Well, I have 2 here, the lithium. Highlight that. And I have 2 here of the lithium. Excellent. Those 2 check. I have 1 sulfur. Yes. And I have 1 sulfur on this side. Yes. I have two silvers on that side. I have 2 silvers. Whoops, that got moved a bit. I have 2 silvers on that side. That works out. And I have 2 NO3s, nitrates, on that side. And I ended up with 2 nitrates on this side. So that's all balanced. So am I done? No. I have to put, I multiplied this by nothing. So 1 in front I don't have to use. This one, this column I multiplied by 2. Right? So because I multiplied it by 2. I don't know why I got that weird color. That means I have to put a 2 in front of here. I multiplied this one by a 2 also. So that means in front of this one, I have to put a 2. And this column, I didn't multiply it at all, so I leave that as is. So this is now balanced. I have 1 mole of lithium sulfide plus 2 moles of silver nitrate. Give me 2 moles of lithium nitrate and 1 mole of silver sulfide. And now I'm done with that problem 1.